All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our July educational meeting. We have a fantastic panel lined up today to dive into the world of microtransit. Before we get started, Stephanie is going to kick things off with a quick reminder of our mission and a few Zoom tips to help you navigate today's session. Steph, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen. For our new attendees, a warm welcome. At DRMAC, our mission is to overcome mobility barriers through education, collaboration, and advocacy to enhance quality of life. And we aim to inform and empower people to overcome mobility barriers, help make transportation equitable, accessible, and affordable for all. Feel like everyone's we've been in probably like 6 years of Zoom meetings, so at this point, I feel like everyone's pretty familiar with this. But if you haven't yet, please go ahead and type your name and organization into the chat. We kindly ask everyone to stay muted unless you are speaking, but please feel free to use the chat as needed for questions or share comments. You can also raise your virtual hand using the reactions button to contribute. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and move on to some brief staff introductions and updates from the team. And we will start with Latoya.
Thanks, Steph. I'm Latoya Parenti, the development manager here with Dr. Mack. I'm wanting to really talk about the LCCs, the local coordinating councils in each of these counties, of the 9 counties. If you have not joined one and you're looking to do something, please join this. I think for us, it's really important because within these meetings, you're able to really look at the barriers within each county and not just overall, and really looking and diving into how we can fill those gaps and working with community members to elected officials. We really need those numbers to grow to really make that meaningful difference that we're looking for. So if you have not, please get in touch with me. I can share all that information with you, and we can get you connected with which county you're preferring to get connected with. Steph?
Yeah, I'm Stephanie O'Neill. I'm the program manager here at DRMAC. And we are working on a new platform. We shared some information about it recently, but we're working to release our travel trainings on an online learning platform. So currently we are in the pilot stage. A very kind group of folks volunteered to test it out for us, and we're going to work out any kinks that we find so that we can fully launch it out to everyone soon. So very exciting there. It'll be a new way for folks to access our travel trainings, and you'll be able to take them any time of day. You don't have to sign up for a certain time. You can watch the videos as many times as you want, and just really increase accessibility in that way. So very excited to be finally getting that up and running. And aside from that, we're still offering our virtual trainings on Zoom. So you can still sign up for those. And then we have our in-person trainings, and we are pretty booked and busy for the summer, which is awesome. So encourage you if you or anyone you know is interested in getting some trainings, either travel or technology, set up for the summer or the fall or the winter or even next year. We're already booking out to next year. So please let me know if you are interested in any of those classes. Yeah, Maria.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria Griffin and I am Dr. Max Bilingual Marketing and Program Coordinator. So we are soon to plan the next edition of our Getting There guide. So as our transportation partners, if you have any update on your services, please let me know. I will be reaching out. I reached out at the beginning of the month, but I will reach out again at the beginning of August to make sure that all updates are up to date. Same if you know of anybody or any organization that will benefit from our information and assistance line, tell them to give us a call. And if you are a food bank or have a food bank in your network that might be interested in being part of our transited table, please reach out to me. I will be happy to enroll them and process their applications too as well. That's all from me. Arthur?
Hi everyone, I'm Arthur. I'm the Outreach and Development Coordinator. Big thing I want to talk about just is all the events we're doing. We got some events coming up in July, of course, but then we got a ton of events that we're coming to, community events we're coming to in August, which is really cool. But if any of you have any community events that you think that we would be great at to attend, then I can reach out to me, let me know, and we'll see if we can come to them, especially coming fall. So we got some openings in fall, and we would love to attend some community events. Yeah, and so I will pass it back to Latoya.
Um, I sorry. I can share it too, Latoya.
Okay.
We're gonna be we're gonna be joined by many of you are already familiar with Carol Buchanan. She's joined us back to help out with some outreach, attending events and everything. So very excited to have her back on our team. And then we'll also be joined by Nami, who will be working with Latoya for some events and outreach as well. So very excited to have both of them join the DRMAC team, and I'm sure you'll see them emailing and maybe out and about if you're attending events as well. So yeah, we don't have pictures up yet because it was recent additions, but very excited to have them both back. So yeah, I will go ahead and pass it to Maria.
Thank you so much, Tim. I am so excited for this conversation. We have a packed agenda dedicating 10 minutes to each panel question. We have an amazing lineup today representing a great cross section of microtransit solutions. Please welcome Heather Wolfolk from Orcart, Kelly Fallon from Ride Longmont, Corey Schmidt from RTD Flex Ride, Rebecca Hernandez from VIO, and Ross Peterson from Sunshine Rides. Let's take a few minutes for everyone to introduce themselves and share a bit about what they do. Heather, why don't you get us started?
Hi there. My name is Heather Woolfolk, and I oversee Orcart Shuttle Services, which is a free shuttle service in Golden. We are a partnership between Colorado School of Mines and City of Golden, but Colorado School of Mines is in charge of the operational piece of the service, and so we're all employed by Colorado School of Mines.
Is Kelly with us? Okay, they will move next to Corey Schmidt.
Good afternoon, everyone. Corey Schmidt. I am RTD's Partnerships Manager and Program Administrator. And as of, 72 business hours ago, also overseeing the Flex Ride program. So excited to participate in the conversation today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca Hernandez. I'm the Policy and Partnerships Manager for VIO. We are the new scooter and e-bike transportation in City of Denver. So far, we've been here since May 15th, but we've had a really successful launch. So really excited to talk a little bit more about our product today.
All right. Nice to meet you guys. I'm Ross Peterson. Many of you know me as the founder of Ride 2. Ride 2 is a member of DRMAC and is a wheelchair accessible transportation service in Denver. I recently sold the entire Ride 2 fleet to Sunshine Rides and joined Sunshine as an executive, helping Kelly, the owner, with government affairs, business development, and wheelchair accessible transportation. So I'm here to represent Sunshine Rides, and we are a non-traditional microtransit provider. I'll talk more about what I mean by that. Yeah, I'll save that for the discussion. So that hopefully that's enough to pique your interest.
Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and dive into the first question. Digital accessibility requires a large upfront investment. How can we convince decision makers that investing now reduces the need for expensive specialized paratransit later? And anybody feel free to just jump in.
I will. So I've always worked in the public sector, and so accessibility has always been mandated by local, state, and federal laws and guidelines. However, I believe that failing to be inclusive of all of your passengers and all the demographics will affect numbers, whether you're profit or nonprofit. I mean, ultimately, you'd be losing out on your ridership by not investing upfront.
Latoya, I'd be happy to pile on. I really like the way that Heather put that. It's 2026 now, and there's probably 30 different pieces of software that transportation providers can subscribe to that have apps. And that's software as a service. We pay for it on a per ride or a subscription basis. So it's not as much of an upfront investment as it used to be. And I think there aren't really any good excuses anymore for a transportation provider not to have a digital footprint. The other side of it is the concept, and I think this is where Heather was going, the concept of universal design or designing your system so that it works for everybody is really important. So just because you have an app doesn't mean that you shouldn't also have a call center, because not everybody's going to be able to access your service through your app. And the app that you offer needs to be accessible for folks with vision impairments or other access issues that need to be addressed. So that's my thought. I'm eager to hear what others have to say.
I can jump in. This is something that is really important to VO in our fleet. A lot of our fleet is designed specifically for folks who come from the disabled community in mind. We have a new tricycle, as an example, that is going to be released in the downtown area in the next couple of weeks. But this is really focused on folks who are maybe wheelchair bound and who only have access to the top half of their body. And so a lot of our vehicles allow for folks to be, using half of their body or what they can. We also have implemented speaker systems to be talking to our riders and be actively interacting with our ridership as they're moving throughout the community. But I think a lot of this, from my experience, needs to be pushed at the city council, the local level, so that they can add these things into their contracts during RFP process, right? And I think on upfront, they should be demanding this investment from companies like VHO.
And I would just add, from RTD's perspective, not just digital accessibility, but accessibility in general, that paratransit services are by far the most expensive to operate, per trip and per passenger, because of that extra care that is given for the passenger. The more that we can do as an agency, and also in partnership with our local municipalities and jurisdictions, to make our fixed route services as accessible and easy to find information about, make sure that there's an ADA boarding position at the bus stop at the corner of your street, really helps save money in the long run, but also helps really open up more opportunity to everyone that needs to travel.
Okay, if nobody else has an input, even from the audience, let's move on to the next question. Cashless transit system include unbanked older adults and riders with disabilities. How can operators bridge this digital and financial equity gap?
I can go first. I think a cool thing that RTD has started up within the last 6 months on top of the tap to pay, is allowing through the MyRide app to, be able to convert cash to passes and account balances so that, not having a bank card or not having a credit card, isn't a barrier to paying your fare and hopping on board.
That's really cool to hear, Corey. Oh, Heather, did you want to go ahead?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
So in my intro, I said we're an untraditional microtransit provider. That's because our roots are in taxi service. So Sunshine Rides got its start as the taxi service in Grand Junction, Colorado in the early 90s. And because of that, we've always had the ability to take cash. When we launched the RTD Access on Demand program, we initially thought we would create a sophisticated card that would allow folks to go to local merchants and add cash. And our operators that have been doing this for years said, you know what, that's too complicated. Our drivers can accept cash. We have a way to manage cash. And so we can accept cash. It's a lot less complicated even than I thought it was at first. And we have that option. So, sometimes we overcomplicate things. And in this case, there's a very simple solution to make sure that everybody can be part of the program.
Yeah, so I actually, that was one of my suggestions. So, since OrCard is a free service, we've kind of already tackled that on our end. But some of the ideas I was thinking about was like, ensuring there's still a book by phone option, or like a card that you can reload somewhere at local merchants or retailers. But I guess, if that's too complicated, then still taking cash. I imagine that, I imagine that wouldn't work in all places of the metro area, just because of the security and safety issues. But definitely having different ways to pay would be more inclusive for sure.
Yeah. I feel the need to plug our access program in here. So I think a major concern for the community when VIO was coming to town was was the ability for low income folks to actually be able to access VIO rides at low or zero cost, right? And so what our access program offers is 60 minutes of unlimited riding per day. And so that can be 60 1-minute trips, that can be one 60-minute trip, and everything in between. And as somebody who rides VIO just about every day all over city of Denver, I can honestly say that is a ton of riding. And I think a big part of that is us being visible and out in the community at different events. We table on different street corners many days of the week, and let our community partners know that, so that if folks don't have access to a phone or need to walk to get to us, we're centrally located, and we actually don't require any sort of credit card or debit card to get access to that program. We just require a physical verification of benefits, and then you're in. So that's a really amazing program, and that's something we tout all the time because we're really proud of it.
I can't find my raise my hand button right now, but I just have a comment just from doing our travel trainings. I know that Uber has it's called Uber Cash, and it's essentially like a gift card that you can buy as like a $20 gift card and then upload it to your account, but you still need to have a credit or debit card on file, so it kind of defeats the purpose of having that. So that's really awesome to hear that VIO, you can, with the access program, you don't need to have that additional, you still need to have a credit or debit card, you just need the access program, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is really amazing. And I'll also plug our resident pass. So for folks who actually live in the city of Denver, we also offer a discounted rate. I think it's $1 to unlock. And so long as you provide proof of address, you also get 25 cents per minute, as opposed to, I believe, 49 cents per minute. Yes, and it's VIO, not VEO or VIA.
Yeah,
Yes.
VEO.
VEO.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That's spelled VEO.
Yes, it's a little
Okay.
funky.
Thank you. Sorry
Yeah,
to be
no problem.
weird. Any other questions for this question or comments or anything? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the next question. So caregivers are vital for vulnerable passengers. How can booking platforms better allow family or providers to remotely schedule, track, and pay for someone else's ride? And we'll start with Heather.
I just have a simple answer. It's design and enable the family member caregiver to have access to the dashboard to book, and pay for the rides.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone can jump in now.
Yeah, Stephanie. So we just launched the Sunshine Access on Demand program. So I think people are starting to use the Sunshine app. It's made by iCabby. I could say what I think about it, but it's early days in this program, and I'd love to hear from. I don't know if we have any end users on the call, but we're always open to feedback. We do have developers on staff that can help us fine tune the way that app works. And so, if my answer to this question is, well, offering an app is the first step so that people can download it and track rides. But I'd be very curious to hear how folks are interacting with the app, and if family and caregivers are able to track their rides on it. We'd love to get your feedback. Sarah, I see in your comments that you haven't written yet. My email address is ross.peterson@sunshinerides.com. I'll put it in the chat. So if you want to send me feedback privately, you can do that. Or if any end users on the call have any experience with this question, I'd love to hear it.
Thanks, Ross. Yeah, I don't know if Jamie, have you written it, or do you know anyone who's written it?
Not at this time. I have not.
Okay. Still really early.
Yeah, we're a week in.
Andrea?
No questions at this point.
Can't hear you, Andrea.
Your audio's still kind of funky.
You sound like you're in a fish tank.
Yeah. That's a problem with having with
If you don't mind, maybe putting your question in the chat, or if you have a way to troubleshoot it.
I have a quick question, Steph, while we circle back to Andrea. That's okay for all of you guys. So it makes me think when you mention caregivers, then I think I automatically go to family, but then I automatically my brain, because it's where it goes to language equity. And if everyone has some sort of built-in translation function in their app, or I don't know, marketing materials that are in other languages other than English, because that also creates a barrier. Do any of you all have that built in your platform or offer that additional support or service? Does my question make sense, or you need me to repeat it?
I understand the question, Colleen.
Okay.
RTD's Next Ride app, which is our trip planner, is available in at least 10 languages. I don't have the comprehensive list of that right now. The FlexRide booking app is a little antiquated, and that it's definitely something that we're looking at. Although in lieu of the app being in multilingual, through the call center, you can book rides in Spanish and a variety of languages.
Thank you, Corey.
I'm checking with our developer to find out what our multi-language support is. Colleen, I'll get back to you in a second.
That's okay. Thanks, Ross.
Yeah, Colleen, at least for VO, we, depending on whatever language your phone is using, we can adapt to whatever language that is. So that's a new tool that we use. I think we use AI. I work at a tech company, but I'm not a tech whiz. But somehow it formats in the app to populate in whatever language you prefer.
That's good to know. Thank you, Rebecca. We get a lot of calls, and sometimes, it's just easier to maneuver if you can maneuver in your native language. So easier. Thank you.
We can, Andrea, whenever you are able to to get that question to us, we can revisit it. But in the meantime, does anyone have any other thoughts or questions about this question?
I will say Uber and Lyft have done a good job with their like teen products and their caregiver products. It's a very elegant solution to a complicated problem. I know how much money they have to spend to engineer some of those solutions, and so I think some of us are catching up. But I think that's a good model to follow. I like the way that the teen product works. I've got kids, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, is it that Uber Teen platform? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that they offer that. And I know that the Colorado Drivers Co-op, they have a pretty diverse fleet of drivers that I don't think they've launched it. And if anyone is from the Drivers Co-op on this call, you can tell me if I'm wrong. But I think they mentioned that they were trying to at one point, or hopefully in the future, be able to have a feature that will match riders with a driver that speaks their language. So it kind of takes that intimidation factor of like, if you're not able to speak English, can I still effectively use that service? It's a question we get a lot in our travel trainings, just fear of using RTD if you can't communicate in English. So yeah, it's awesome when there's language access and just creative solutions and stuff like that. So all right. I see a chat. I do not know the answer to that, Sarah. I don't know if anyone else on the call knows, but would the Uber Teen be available for access on demand? Does that extend to that platform, or is it just like the standalone Uber service? Does anyone know? I can also ask RTD if not.
I know Uber isn't, but if Sunshine Rides changed it, I wonder if Sunshine Rides would, because I don't think Uber is, because it has to be like attached to a family account. And yeah, we did some research with Mobility for All, and family accounts are complicated, and so I don't think RTD could make that like work. But
yeah, I don't think iCabby supports the same functionality as family accounts. It's a pretty sophisticated set of security protocols that allow parent-child relationships. So I'll look into it. I don't believe iCabby supports it, and I can get back to you on that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Right, we will go ahead and move on to our next question, and Maria will take that from us.
That is a great question. I am learning so much and just overall picking at everybody's brain. So it's amazing. Moving forward to the next question, most shared e-scooters and e-bikes are built for young, able-bodied riders. How can micromobility operators realistically integrate adapted vehicles like seated or three-wheel scooters into their fleets? And let's begin with Rebecca because I think that you were just talking about this. So
Yes.
take it away.
Yes, we were. So just to be really clear, our fleet of e-scooters and e-bikes are for 18 years and older, and we're really trying to focus on messaging around this is a real transportation tool. This is not a recreation tool. I think when scooters and e-bikes were introduced in the city of Denver many years ago, it was really fun and exciting and new, and a lot of us would just ride around the neighborhood for fun. But we really are trying to shift the narrative to speak more about these e-scooters and e-bikes towards being a real transportation tool, getting to and from work. And I've particularly been talking to a lot of folks in the Cherry Creek neighborhood who are hospitality or retail workers. A lot of that neighborhood is paid parking and it's very limited parking. And so this has been a real tool in the toolbox for folks to be getting to and from work in a safe and efficient and affordable way. So, how can we integrate these adaptive vehicles? Well, we have all sorts of vehicles that are a part of our new fleet. Only about 15% of our current fleet are the classic stand-up scooters. Those can be really funky feeling, and they require a lot of balance. Most of our fleet, about 70%, are our sit-down scooters, our Cosmos, and those are a lot safer to ride statistically. You need a lot less balance to be directing them and moving them around, and they don't require you to use your foot pedals. We also have our two-person e-scooter that kind of hopefully mitigates some of that two-person standing scooter riding. But I mentioned this earlier. We're really excited about our new tricycle to be coming out, and this is really it's definitely having to relearn how to ride a bike because it is all upper body motion and directing. But what we've heard in our pilots or in our initial conversations with folks like AARP, Montbello Organizing Committee, that the three-person tricycles feel a lot safer. They feel a lot slower. We also have a safety mode in our app that you can go into the settings and click on, and the safety mode only allows you to go a maximum of 8 miles per hour, as opposed to our current maximum of 15 miles per hour. So we're really trying to mix up our fleet. We're going to be piloting these tricycles all in the immediate downtown neighborhood to start, and hopefully expanding from there.
I know this question's about micro mobility and not so much about microtransit, but I do want to pile on to the comment I made earlier around universal design. And I hear what Rebecca's saying is right on point. Design your service so that it meets a lot of different needs. And we're thinking about that in the Sunshine fleet. So we have two primary vehicle types, and then with the Ride 2 fleet being added to it, it adds a third. So our ambulatory vehicles are primarily Teslas. The lower floor of the Tesla allows for a really easy entry. They're big vehicles. There's a lot of room inside of them. And so somebody that might have preferred a minivan for the size, we've heard a lot of really good feedback that there's enough room in the backseat of a Tesla that's very comfortable for an ambulatory passenger. We also have about 21 Chrysler minivans. Those offer a really smooth, comfortable ride, wheelchair accessible. Also, just kind of a familiar form factor, doors that open on both sides, feels like a personal vehicle. It's not a big, huge bus. And then the new vehicles we've added from Ride 2 are Ford Transit lift-equipped vans that can handle pretty much any person, any mobility device, any form factor. And the thought that I have about microtransit, I'll actually come out and say my criticism of microtransit is that it's often used as a replacement for fixed route public transit. And in a lot of the communities where microtransit has failed, it tried to replace fixed route transit, and it ended up not really serving anybody particularly well. So when a microtransit service is designed specifically with universal design concepts that it can be used for people who use mobility devices, it opens that fleet up for a lot more flexibility. And I know, DRMAC in its roots is really about coordinating all of these different human service transportation programs. And so by not just focusing microtransit on replacing fixed route services, but introducing demand responsive transportation to communities that is inherently accessible makes those programs a lot more sustainable. And so, it just goes with that design concept that they need to be accessible. And I think that applies to micromobility as well.
That is great feedback. Thank you, Ross. And Rebecca, I felt that I'm just checking the chat, and I think that we have another question from Jamie. Are you monitoring? I'm sorry. Are you monitoring hospital visits due to incidents on your vehicles? They seem to be safer. So I am curious if numbers of hospital visits are dropping.
Yeah, so we aren't allowed to share all of the details about hospital numbers. I would say generally they're kind of in the same spot that they have been and with previous contractors. Something interesting that we've noticed about VO and having this exclusive contract, I think when there are multiple competitors in a single market, it's kind of a race to the bottom. And so other competitors are dropping scooters and their fleet in this market they were doing this as well. They were dropping scooters in the real hot spots, and so most of those areas were downtown. And so they were not rebalancing, as we call them, scooters to be in Montbello or GVR or Harvey Park. Since we are the only scooter operator in the city of Denver, we are balancing our scooters pretty evenly across the city of Denver. And what we've seen is in places like Montbello, there are upwards of 1,100% increases in ridership because folks just didn't have access to our fleet previously. Now that they do have that, what we are realizing is a lot of these historically underserved neighborhoods don't have the infrastructure available to them in the same way that, Broadway has beautiful bike lanes and they're perfect and I can zip up and down Broadway all day long and feel really safe. In Montbello, a lot of folks are unfortunately riding on sidewalks because that is a lot safer than riding on the road. And that's one of the reasons we get a lot of questions about why aren't we banning scooters on sidewalks. A lot of the reason why is because there are neighborhoods outside of the downtown area where that is the safest area to ride. And so we are seeing an uptick in ridership. With that comes additional injuries. And so I think the way we've been combating that is working with partners like Denver Health, with Denver Public Schools. We're talking to the Boys and Girls Club of Denver to start educating folks on about e-scooters and e-bikes and what they actually are. They're not just this fun, exciting tool to ride up and down the block on. They're, real modes of transportation for adults, right?
That kind of brings me to my question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that the scooters legally they're 18 and up, but I know there's really the majority of folks that I see on the scooters are probably 18 and under. So and they're not wearing helmets at all,
Right.
because they're at that invincible age. They
Yeah.
feel invincible. Actually, my grandson just broke his elbow last week and had to have surgery. But I'm not pointing the finger at Vio. I'm asking, is there any kind of controls And that's great that you guys are talking to DPS and the Boys and Girls Club. I think that's a great place to start. But I don't know if there's a way to just set some kind of control that they have to prove that they're over 18 before they actually get on the scooter. Does that,
Sure.
or am I reaching really
No,
high there?
that is a really common question we get. Why don't we just require age verification? And the reason is this. So not only are we verifying the age and the identities of kids under 18, right? Of course, we want to prevent those kids from riding. And there are a few unfortunate situations where that might be a child's only mode of transportation to or from school some days. That might be their only way to get to football practice, right? To the Boys and Girls Club. And so while we don't condone youth ridership at all, we recognize that there is a real need, and council, in talking to them during the RFP process, this was a huge priority for them, especially in lower income neighborhoods. I think the other thing to consider is that if we verify IDs for everybody, that would exclude our immigrant friends, right? Who maybe don't have proper identification with them. That would exclude the unhoused community. I've heard many, many, many times already about the unhoused community not being able to ride previous scooters and e-bikes because they lost their ID in an encampment sweep, right? And so there are many situations where folks don't have valid forms of IDs but still need to get to and from a location. And so that's the reason why we haven't just outright banned these riders. And so instead, what we're really focusing on is how do we educate these young riders, these people who shouldn't be riding. VO will not be the one to, right, actively say, come ride our vehicles, right? But we do want to sponsor those opportunities to start kind of shifting that narrative in kids' brains of, okay, this is a vehicle just like a car, just like a bicycle, just like a privately owned e-scooter, and I need to treat it with a level of responsibility. And so that's why we're heavily leaning on those other partners to say, this is how we can educate you. This is what this means. This is a bike lane. You know, this is a crosswalk. This is a stop sign. This is a stop light. And so hopefully by educating rather than just staying silent, we can help drive that ridership into a more responsible direction. And the other thing is, you know, if you are not a part of our access program or our resident pass program, you do need there is a payment requirement, right? And so you need to sign up with a credit card or a debit card. And many parents, we're finding, are actually signing their kids up as themselves into their account. So we're really encouraging folks not to do that. And we're
Right.
providing lots of materials to all of our friends in this space just to even have at tabling events, because some parents don't realize that the age limit is 18.
And I guess I could see that's a thank you for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense. But because I know a lot of calls that we get into INA will not, it's increasing parents looking for alternatives for their youth. And I can see that if you don't have a way for your kiddo to go to school, it's easy to say, pick up a VO scooter. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's some opportunity between VO and Dr. Mac to maybe, I know we talked to someone else about um, getting some helmets. We'd love to pass them out when we go to
Yeah.
events. If we could help you guys pass them out at schools or at the Boys and Girls Clubs, we'd love to, especially now that I have a personal
Yeah.
story because my grandson is married, right? So
Yeah.
we'd love to partner with you guys on that. And we're really trying to amp up our travel training for youth series. Maybe there's some opportunity
Mm.
there. So maybe we can figure out how we can make that happen because I understand the need and I understand why you guys just can't block it.
Yeah.
But I don't,
Absolutely.
it's hard to watch kiddos get hurt on them as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We do give helmets out. There is a part of our contractual agreement with the city is to come up with some sort of proposal to safely have younger riders, like, 16-year-olds who maybe can drive a car. Can they also operate a VO? So we're talking more about that, but I think there is so much education on the front end that needs to be done. So yes, happy to partner with any and all of you if there are opportunities. We've only been in Denver since July 15th, or sorry, since May 15th. So there's plenty of opportunities to get to know you all and find opportunities for collaboration.
Thank you.
You can tell Colleen and I are about the same age because it's always safety, 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 right, babe? I just wanted to share a real quick story with you. I was at a Cherry Creek Reservoir with some friends, and my
Yeah.
friends had some very little children. And as we walked near the beach, there was this post, and it had the swimming apparatus. What do you call that? The vest,
Mm,
the vest, and they were hanging on a pole, and it just says please return. And so it was a
mhm.
share program. And I'm thinking that would probably, somehow maybe Dr. Mack and you guys could work together to maybe work with the city and get these posts where you could just put, you know, relatively cheaper cost helmets. Because I think people, for the most part, would return them if they weren't using.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of
Mhm.
times downtown you have visitors and they're not going to bring a helmet with them on their airplane. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if they were downtown and say, "Oh, I'd like to get on this scooter, but I don't have a helmet." But if we had a post where there
Hmm,
was a share program, and so that's just something to think about between the two organizations. So
that's a
thank
good idea, Jamie.
Yeah.
Like to take a book, bring it back, and or
Mhm.
drop off one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that idea.
Another
That's a great
question
idea.
that I have to kind of add on to Colleen's proposal for further partnership. I know that in our travel trainings, we touch about how to ride VO scooters and e-bikes. However, I felt that more in-depth training maybe could be interesting for our community, like maybe monthly sessions where we actually just exclusively take the time to teach um, young adults and older adults on how to safely get on the e-bikes and e-scooters. I mean, even for me, sometimes it could be very intimidating to kind
Yeah.
of pick up the speed and all that. So I felt like these um, maybe trainings, like in person, could be very beneficial. Also, I noticed that there is a lot of people, because usually they're used in downtown, uh, driving impaired. What
Mm.
kind of measures can we, I don't know, discuss for people to understand, just like you mentioned, that this is a vehicle and nobody should be driving under the influence?
Yeah. So, yes, so the vehicle interestingly can detect when somebody is kind of like wobbling around or, riding in kind of a funky off way. And the vehicle can actually detect motion that is suggestive of an impaired driver. And so we have a violation schedule in place. And so the first two violations are warnings. The third violation is actually a $5 fine that just gets taken automatically from your account. 90% of the population who gets that $5 fine doesn't get a second fine, either because they are really upset with VO and never want to ride again, right? Or because that kind of spooked them and kind of, they got it together and won't ride impaired again. The fourth violation results in a $10 fine and a suspension. You're able to contest that and appeal that, but most of the time we're pretty firm in suspending your account. So um, we do have policies in place to combat that. Um, However, yes, unfortunately, that does kind of, some riders do slip through the cracks there, but we're pretty quick to warn them if we're seeing a shaky ride occur.
That's great, Rebecca. Thank you. I think we have kind of like a comment too from Sarah. Also, slowing down during turns helps not to crash on my three-wheeler. Yeah, you're brave, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Very brave.
gosh, dude. Like you don't even know. Like so I have a three-wheeler but I have a vision impairment. So it's pretty scary, but it's really fun. But then I want to do the race, I want to make it a race bike. And so I have to remember, don't turn quickly or don't turn like sharply or it'll be, yeah, not fun.
I love you, Sarah.
I love you too, Coley. It's awesome.
Any more questions from the audience or in the chat? Andrea, do you still have that question? You got a chance to type it on the chat. I don't see it. Did anybody else got a chance to see Andrea's question? Maybe I'm missing it.
She said it wasn't a question, it was a comment.
Oh.
Stephanie, you're on mute.
Thank you. I was saying, thank you so much to all of our panelists. It was a great discussion. I feel like we learned a lot. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how some of these newer services continue throughout the year. And I feel like we have a great community here that's open to receiving feedback and asking questions and everything. So if anyone ever does have any questions, and you don't have a point of contact and you want to get in touch with someone, please let us know, someone at DRMAC, and we'd be more than happy to get you in touch with someone. But yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day. And yeah, really appreciate it. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to pass it to Arthur, who will talk to us a little bit about membership.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for coming to this. And thanks again to all our panelists. Your perspectives on microtransit were incredibly valuable, and I really enjoyed the conversation. One of the best parts of these meetings is highlighting the amazing network that we have here at DRMAC. So we're entirely powered by our members, and your support is what keeps us moving forward. So if you'd like to join the DRMAC family or want more details about membership benefits, let us know or visit our website, and I'll put a link in the chat about that. But yeah, so thanks again for everyone. Yeah, and then with that in mind, for this month's Member Spotlight, we are proud to highlight Transportation Solutions of Arapahoe County. We're also thrilled to recognize their chair, which is Andrea, who is such an active and dedicated leader in our transportation community. Andrea, we'd love for you to share a little bit about TSAC's incredible work. Hopefully we can hear you.
Andrea, if you want to, if you have any updates, you can send any one of us an email with them, and we can include them in our post-meeting email so they can get sent out. But I'm so sorry you're having some audio issues. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on. Apologies about that.
Right. And then finally, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our DRMAC members. Thank you for your continued dedication and for fueling progress that we make every single day. And then I'm going to pass it on to Colleen.
Thank you, Arthur. So we truly value your feedback and want to make sure these meetings deliver exactly what you're looking for. Based on what you shared with us, we know there is a strong interest in staying up to date on legislative changes and local funding opportunities. We're excited to start bringing more of these insights directly to you. I won't go through all of these one by one, but they will be included in your post meeting notes. But if anyone has any comments on any of these legislative updates on the screen, or if you have any that you would like to add, we'll give some space here for that. Anyone have any questions? Anything they want to add to this section?
Would I share my updates now, Colleen, or would I wait?
Do you mean your community updates, Sarah?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wait just a sec. I'm gonna get there.
Oh, you're totally fine.
Yeah,
Okay. No, you're good.
I'll call you first when we get to that section. How about that?
Okay.
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 Okay, well then we'll just move on to the next, the funding opportunity slide. So these are some that I am aware of, but I'm sure there are more funding opportunities out there. So just like the legislation updates, I won't go through them one by one. You'll get them after the meeting. But if you also are aware of some opportunities for funding that you'd like to share with the group, or if you have a funding opportunity that maybe you would like to collaborate with another org on, DRMAC is always looking for funding opportunities where we can collaborate with another organization, because I feel like with the limited funding, we all are going to end up having to do a little bit more of that. Okay. No questions on that or anything to add? All righty then, I'm moving right along here. Next, we have the RTD is proposing a series of service changes for September 2026, designed to refine and strengthen its transit network, improve reliability, restore key frequencies, and better align resources with customer needs. If approved by the RTD board, these changes will take effect on Sunday, September 27th, 2026. We invite you, I encourage you to share your thoughts through their online survey. Community feedback is essential to RTD, and we thank you for participating and making your voice heard. I'm going to put the link to the survey here in the chat because there's some pretty big changes, and I think everyone should probably give your feedback, especially if you or your clients depend on that mode of transportation. All right. Now, Sarah, here we are. Now at the end, I'm gonna let you go first, but I'm gonna do my little spiel first.
Okay.
Now, as we near the end of our meeting, we'd love to dedicate our remaining time to community updates. This is a great space for us to collaborate, so please feel free to share any upcoming events, announcements, or resources that could benefit the group. You can unmute, raise your virtual hand, or simply type them in the chat. If you have flyers or details you'd rather email, you can send them right to us and we'll help spread the word. And as Sarah prepares to go, I'll just put my email address in the chat. Take it away, Sarah.
Okay. Thanks, Colleen. Sorry. You were like, does anyone have thoughts? And I was like, I think.
No, you're
Yeah.
you're
No, you're
fine.
good. Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple of updates. I'm just gonna put some stuff in the chat too. It's kind of a lot. But we were talking about some e-bike related stuff. We also had 280 participants go by our table at Bike to Work Day on the 25th of June. So that was awesome. We had a lot of, we placed third in the Way to Go Business Challenge for employers of our size, so that's nice.
I don't know exactly what that is, but that's what Melissa says. So that's good. And the bike to work day was very successful. Sorry, I'm trying to read, but I don't know if you guys can see me. There we go. Yeah, and then there's a statewide campaign. There's a lot of statewide stuff. There's a CDOT campaign for e-bikes. So I put some of the links in there. They have, yeah, some good information just if you want to like look at these links. It's kind of a lot, but the county's working on our own. As government agencies tend to do, it takes a lot of time because you're working through some red tape. And then I'll post something else in the chat, one more thing, about the Disability Pride Day event coming up on the 18th of July. And we're gonna have that at Atlantis is gonna have that at Atlantis in Denver. And then here are those links about all of that. And there's a survey, which is also another statewide thing, for people to help like represent their disability. It's kind of a disability needs assessment. It's due on the 14th of July. And then there's a disability, like, I don't know, there's a lot of disability stuff lately because it's July, which is awesome because it's also my birthday month. So I feel very special to have a Disability Pride Month birthday. But anyway, there's that survey linked. There's another link for an online class. I think it's tonight, and there's another one on the 9th that you can register for. I think that's about it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I put the link to the way to go. Placing 5th place, that's not a small feat. So congrats to voter
3rd place.
Matt. But I put it so in case anyone doesn't know what way to go is. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other updates? No? It's summertime, probably things are slowing down a little bit. Hopefully. Okay. Well, if there are no other updates, I'm going to give you guys the gift of time, and we'll be officially at the end of today's meeting. A huge thank you to everyone for your time and active participation today. We look forward to seeing you at our next meeting on Tuesday, August 4th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. on Zoom. The registration links for our rest of our 2026 calendar are live on our website. And if you'd like to sign up ahead of time, take care, everyone, and we'll see you next month. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Colleen?